Welcome to the Chicagoland Speedway for the second race in the second round of playoffs for the Rivalry Racing Cup Series. Last week we were in Michigan and we saw a victory for this guy here, Travis McDaniel. And that means that Travis McDaniel is locked in for the final race in Texas 2 weeks from today. Today we are in Chicagoland, Illinois, just south of Chicago, Joliet to be exact. And we have Weishard, Grant, and Martin looking good in that second round in the standings to make it to the Final Four in the final race in Texas. Seiden, Faden, Suggs, and Todd Guess, they need to make up some ground, and obviously for those three bottom drivers, things are looking a little bit worse, and they really would be benefiting from a win here in Chicago. And to make that point, Brett Suggs is currently quickest in the practice session. So after last week's race, when he was a little bit out of luck, and if I remember correctly, he started late and had trouble with his connection. Brad Suggs could do well with a win here and lock himself into that Final Four for the championship race in Texas. So let's take a look here at the final moments of practice. You're looking at Travis McDaniel, and it looks like he's coasting into the pits. And we've seen some drivers getting into trouble in this practice session. It looks to me like the track temperature is giving them a little bit of trouble. Cars appear to be a little loose here and there, and seen some guys wash up into the wall. So they're going to have to be a little bit careful. So let's take a quick look here at the information. Chicagoland Speedway is a 1.5 mile oval. It's a D-shaped oval. It's got a fairly tight bend there at the start and finish line, and you'll see some drivers go down on the apron there to gain a little bit of time. And as you can tell from the little map, the backstretch isn't exactly straight either, so it's an interesting shaped track, and it makes for pretty good racing. The ambient temperature at this point is 74 degrees. It's a nice summer night here in Illinois. The relative humidity is 45%. We are under cloudy skies, and we have a slight wind of 5 miles an hour, which I don't think will be bothering them all that much. What worries me a little bit more is the track temperature. You can see that underneath the track map there. It's 95 degrees. It's been coming down a little bit because it was 103 when I last checked it, I believe. But that higher track temperatures definitely make for a little bit more slippery track, and with as little cars as we have in the field, it'll be a little bit tricky for the guys to get the stuff rubbered in. So we're getting ready to qualify. The drivers will not be able to see each other during qualifying. It is they're on their own. And let's see if we can find some of them. There we have Patrick Howard, as is our tradition by now. He is out on track first in that 89 car with the John Deere livery. And if so far since I've been on board with this league, I always see Patrick Howard going out first. That's the first name I check. So Patrick Howard out for his first qualifying attempt, and as said, the drivers are doing this individually. They cannot see each other. So some other worthwhile things to note for the race. We're going to be doing 150 laps here in Chicagoland. And we have a stage ending at lap 60. So the first stage is 60 laps. The second stage will take us to the finish with the remainder of the 90 laps to make 150. The pit lane speed limit is 50 miles an hour, which, if you're coming, ooh, and Howard gets in trouble there on his first qualifying lap. The pit lane speed, as I was trying to say, is 50 miles an hour, and as you're coming off the backstretch towards pit lane, you're going about 170 to 180 miles an hour. So that makes for a good braking zone there at the pit entry. The guys are running a fixed setup, meaning they can only work with their brake bias to change the car to get it to their liking. The brake bias divides the brake pressure between front and rear, and some drivers lightly use the brake and move that bias to the rear to help the car rotate in. Not all of them do, so we can't really judge from the outside, but the risky part of it is that if you turn that brake bias to the rear too far, you might lock up too easily and swing that back end around. So Patrick Howard has run his qualifying, and he is currently shown in fourth position. And the man on top is Todd Gass, and he's another one of the guys that could really use a win here to advance to the final. So that's good for him. Then it's Chet Martin in second. Scott Olson is in third. Patrick Howard currently still in fourth. And Travis McDaniel currently out there on the track somewhere. All right, so the final thing I would like to note before we go racing is the guys will have one fast repair during the race, and that means that any damage on the car will be fixed instantly, with the exception of tires and fuel. That will always take time. But if they run into trouble and they scrape walls or hit another car or whatnot, then damage on their car will be instantly repaired one time only. So after that first fast repair has been used up, they're on their own, and they'll be forced to deal with the damage either by taking repairs that iRacing will calculate time for, or they're going to have to stay out on track and run as is. Travis McDaniel moves himself up into the third position here, and Todd Gass is still the quickest driver out there. We see David Weishart, one of the favorites in this series, and he is running a seventh time currently. And we can bring up the lap time box and see he is on his second lap now. Let's see what he can do. And you can tell he's going underneath that white line onto the apron. And Travis McDaniel qualifies in second position. It's still Brad Suggs up there. I would have to say it's Brad Suggs back up there. And he is currently running the quickest lap with a 30-second lap flat. Well, it's actually 3,000ths of a second slower, but that nobody calls that out. Travis McDaniel second, David Weishart is third, and Todd Guess is still doing good business here in the fourth spot. And then Chris Seidenfaden is the third driver that is still currently outside of the final, and he is running in the fifth position. Garrett Grant looks like he's the final driver out there trying to get his qualifying time, his second lap. He is currently on his second lap, and let's see him come across the line here. And it looks like his second lap is a 30.1, a little bit quicker than his first lap, and it puts him in the seventh position. And I will say that these 10 drivers currently here qualifying are pretty close together. The first 3, 4, 5 spots you can see on the left of your screen there are within flashes of an eye of each other, really. Patrick Howard with a 30.9 still keeps it 1 second within the time of Brad Suggs, so that is a pretty good achievement. So let's bring up that information once again. We are in the playoff round number 2, race number 2. Next week will be the final race of the second round, and that will be in Phoenix. And as I said, we're going to be doing 150 laps here in Chicago, and the first stage will end at lap 60. We will be going yellow when we finish that first stage, and that'll give the drivers a chance to make a pit stop and get some tires and fuel for the rest of the race. I'm not 100% sure what the pit window is, but I would think that they would be able to run that first stage without stopping, but we'll have to wait and see because it's going to be close. All right, so we're ticking away the final moments here in qualifying, and that gives us a chance to quickly take a look at a word from one of our sponsors. And we're back in Chicagoland. Let's bring up that bracket here for the playoffs in the Rivalry Racing Cup Series. And again, it's McDaniel with a win locked in from Michigan in the Final Four. Then it's Weishart, Grant, and Martin looking good in the points. Then it's Seidenfaden, Suggs, and Guess that are not looking good in the points, and they can really use a win to lock themselves in that Final Four for the Texas Motor Speedway final. So Brett Suggs is doing a good work here with a pole position. Todd Guess in fourth and Chris Seidenfaden in fifth are giving themselves a good shot at getting themselves locked into that Final Four. All right, Chicagoland, a beautiful facility just south of Chicago in Joliet, Illinois, and they call this a cloudy sky, but I would prefer to call that a partly cloudy sky. Maybe they've already changed it here. No, they still say it's a cloudy sky. Well, looks like a partly cloudy sky to me. So Brett Suggs on the top of the timesheet here, followed by Travis McDaniel, then David Weishart and Todd Guess, and all that is within a tenth of a second here. Then Chris Seidenfaden is 13 hundredths of a second behind the time of Brett Suggs. Chet Martin is actually shown on my scoring with the exact same time as Seidenfaden, and then it's Garrett Grand with a 30.17, Scott Olson with a 30.31, Nicholas Wing with a 30.37, and Patrick Howard with a 30.91. We saw Patrick have a little bit of an issue on his first lap, so basically his time there in qualifying is put on one successful lap there. So we're hoping that in the race he can hang in there with the pack here and make something happen for himself. Patrick Howard, as you saw in the bracket, is not locked in the playoffs anymore, but still running to score some points and improve his position in the standings. Obviously, all the guys here are looking to score well. 30 seconds left in qualifying. All the drivers have been out there, and we're getting ready to grit them up for the race here just in a few seconds. 10 seconds ticking away, and we're looking forward to this race here. The field is not that big in this series, but it's always good racing. It's always good and clean racing, and we've seen some great battles in races before this one, so I'm expecting the same thing here. And let's bring up that grid for you. And here you have it. It's going to be Brad Suggs on the inside, Travis McDaniel on his outside on that front row. Then it's going to be David Weishart and Todd Guess on the second row. The third row will be Chris Seidenfaden on the inside, and then Chet Martin in the 41 car will be on the outside. Then it's the number 7 of Garrett Grand on the inside of row 4, Scott Olson on the outside of row 4 in the number 61 car, and then it's Nicholas Wing on the number 12 car on the fifth row, and Patrick Howard rounding out the 10 cars that qualified for this race. So there you have them. Brad Suggs in the green and silver car there, the number 33. And it would be good for him to come out of here with a win, but obviously we're 150 laps away from deciding that. Travis McDaniel already locked into the final with his Michigan win from last week. David Weishart in the brown and white UPS livery. Todd Guess, I do believe he changed his colors. And then behind him it is Chris Seidenfaden on the inside. Scott Olson we see there. I'm sorry, I skipped Chet Martin there. Then it's Garrett Grant and Scott Olson. Nicholas Wing in the M&M car, and Patrick Howard in the green and yellow John Deere livery. Behind the pace car, one pace lap here on this track here in Chicagoland, and they're lining them up pretty nicely. Again, a D-shaped oval. We'll see some guys go below the white line on the main straightaway in that kink where the start-finish line is. They'll have to be a little bit careful with that transition. The banking is not extremely high, but it's high enough to upset the car if you're not careful. So I've seen some of the guys do it, and then later in practice they opted not to do it anymore. I saw some guys not do it at all, and so we'll have to wait and see and figure out which drivers think they can find a little bit of advantage there. And waiting for the call here. There we go. We are racing here at Chicagoland in the second race of round number 2 of the playoffs for the Rivalry Racing Cup Series. And it looks like Brad Suggs is doing well here coming off the start, picking up the lead in front of Travis McDaniel, who is on the higher side now, and it's David Weishart in third position with alongside him the number 1 of Todd Guess. Then it's the 15 of Seidenfaden, the 42 of Grant on the high side. It's the 12 of Nicholas Wing already up to the 7th spot. And there you see it, some of the drivers looking to go down below that white line. And like I said, they'll have to be a little bit careful with that transition from the flat spot, from the apron to the banking. And it looks like Travis McDaniel has brought it alongside and past Todd Guess now for the lead. And a train of cars on that higher side is helping him with the draft a little bit, obviously. Todd Guess is now in the 2nd position, being followed by David Weishart, and Brad Suggs now going underneath to that apron to try and gain a little bit of speed from David Weishart. It looks like Brad Suggs picks up that 3rd position once again. Travis McDaniel still leading in front of Todd Guess. And then we have Chris Seidenfaden in the 15 car on that lower side in 5th. Garrett Grant in 6th. Then it's Nicholas Wing in the number 12 car. Scott Olson, Chet Martin, and Patrick Howard seems to be dropping back a little bit. Travis McDaniel doing good work here. He is staying right above that white line while some of the others are going underneath it. And Todd Guess in 2nd position, and it looks like David Weishart is now moving to the outside of Brett Suggs, bringing that number 4 car into the 3rd spot, and it looks like Chris Seidenfaden is doing the same thing. It looks like Brad Suggs is having a little bit of trouble getting behind somebody and catching that draft. Now the leaders came down, and that helped him a little bit through that turn. And once again, he tries to take advantage of the shorter distance there. Not sure if it really works all that well. Seidenfaden and Grant now in a formation behind him, it looks like. And Travis McDaniel at the front here is being challenged by David Weishart. And he has brought himself past Todd Guess. Todd Guess now in 3rd. And it looks like Suggs is tugging right behind him there. And looking to come to Todd Guess's inside now underneath that white line. And Todd gives him the room to come back. And it looks like Brad Suggs is... looked like the number 1 was a little bit loose there. Garrett Grant now coming underneath the 33, and that is for the 4th position here, and it looks like he's pulling along Chris Seidenfaden underneath that 33 of Brad Suggs. Travis McDaniel still in the lead, David Weishart in 2nd, And there we see Grant and Suggs and Seidenfaden all going underneath that white line to try and gain a little bit on shorter distance. Garrett Grant is now in 4th, and it looks like Brad Suggs has been able to keep Seidenfaden behind him. He is in 5th, Seidenfaden 6th. It's Nicholas Wing in 7th, Scott Olson a little bit further back than Chet Martin and Patrick Howard. Looks like Patrick is having a little bit of trouble keeping up with his train of cars here. Obviously running back-to-back here is going to help them with the draft, and that will gain them a little bit of speed. It looks like David Weishart comes underneath Travis McDaniel now, looking to pick up that lead. McDaniel is strong on the high side. David Weishart can't quite nose it ahead, but he's on the lower side. Side by side now, and it looks like David Weishart is picking up that lead coming back into the tri-oval. Travis McDaniel running fairly strong on the high side. At the line, it's Weishart, but that doesn't mean much. Todd Guess is still in 3rd, and then it's Garrett Grant in 4th. Seidenfaden now in front of Brad Suggs. And all these 6 drivers are still nose to tail together here. Doing very good, giving each other room to race. No bumping, no foul stuff going on. David Weishart and Travis McDaniel been together side by side here for laps already. And the same is true behind him, where Garrett Grant is picking up the pace here. He has passed Seidenfaden for 4th position, and he's now working on Todd Guess on that lower side, staying behind Travis McDaniel. And it looks like Travis McDaniel has picked up a little bit there, gaining some speed with the help of Todd Guess. And it's now Weishart in 2nd again. Todd Guess is hanging on to 3rd, and Garrett Grant in 4th. Seidenfaden in 5th. Brad Suggs is hanging with this group in 6th position. And as long as he can keep that car behind those guys, he's going to be in good shape. McDaniel in the lead, Weishart, then Todd Guess trying to come to the inside of the number 4 car. And he gets alongside. Can he pick up that position? They're still side by side coming into the tri-oval. Todd Guess going low, trying to gain on distance once again. Still side by side, Weishart still has it. But he's forced to run the higher groove there, and it doesn't seem to hurt him that much. We've seen Travis McDaniel up in that high groove as well, and it looks like there's plenty of grip there. Travis McDaniel is now walking away from him a little bit. It's about 4/10 of a second. So the guys behind him are going to have to try and keep that group together if they want to have a chance to have the draft work for them. Ooh, it looks like Todd Guess is now slowing down on that bottom side, being overtaken by Garrett Grant. So Weishart and Grant, teammates, they are now in front of this second group, chasing after Travis McDaniel. Brad Suggs in 5th, Seidenfaden now in 6th. So that story hasn't been told just yet either. Suggs is looking pretty good there, hanging with the number 1 car of Todd Guess. And it looks to me like Weishart is stretching that group a little bit and gaining back some time on Travis McDaniel. It's now 3/10 of a second. It was a little bit higher the lap before. So it looks like Weishart is catching that draft from McDaniel up in front, trying to close that gap. Garrett Grant coming with him. Todd Guess now in 4th position with Brad Suggs and Seidenfaden still hanging on there, trying to keep that draft going. Seidenfaden going out of line, very low on that apron. Not sure if that's the best way to go at this point. I would stay right behind the guy in front of me and trying to keep that draft alive. And that's what Todd Guess and Brad Suggs are doing. Seidenfaden falling back a little bit now. And it's still McDaniels in the number 2 car leading the pack here. We're on lap 15. David Weishart in 2nd spot. Let's ride along with Dave Weishart here for just a little bit. You can tell by the hands how they're doing when it comes to handling of the car. And it looks like David is fairly easy on the gas. Careful not to have that back end run away from him. and it's looking pretty solid, I will say. Travis McDaniel hanging on to that lead. The gap is still about 0.3 of a second. Then we have Garrett Grant closing in on David Weishart, trying to work together here and kind of reel that McDaniel car in. Todd Guess and Brad Suggs together also seems like they're trying to help each other out a little bit and keep that draft going. And then a little bit further back, it looks like Chris Seidenfaden has lost the connection with the lead group, and the same is true for Wing. Olsen seems to be gaining on Nicholas Wing. Chad Martin seems to be gaining on them as well, and Patrick Howard is about 8 seconds behind, and it looks like Howard is deciding to come into the pits right as we catch him. Back to 50 miles an hour. We'll keep an eye on him really shortly here, see if he's just coming in for tires. It's a little bit early in lap 18, but it looked like he was struggling a little bit. He'll be passed here by the leaders. Weishart now all going way down. It looks like that distance to McDaniel is now 0.2 of a second. Quick look here. Yes, it looks like Howard is taking tires in the pits here. Back up to the front with Travis McDaniel, David Weishart, and Garrett Grant. And the distance between these three cars is equaling out, kind of. And then behind these top three, it's still Todd Guess, with Brad Suggs right behind him. Looks like they have found their racing buddies right now to help each other out a little bit. Both these guys are really in need of a win, and the same is true for Chris Seidenfaden. And it looks like Brad Suggs is coming to the inside of Todd Guess now, trying to pick up that position. Might be an idea to just switch around and both get some cool air on that radiator. Todd Guess now tugging in behind Suggs. McDaniel is still in the lead with Weishart now looking both high and low. They've closed that gap. Weishart and Grant now right on his tail. And it looks like we see Patrick Howard coming out of the pits. He's probably lost 2 laps now on the leaders. Not sure if he had any damage, but looked like he was struggling for speed a little bit, and he came in for new tires. Weishart and Grant, and it looks like those two are working together to reel in Travis McDaniel. Lap 22. Getting close to the halfway mark of the first stage. First stage will end at lap 60. And it looks like the gaps are kind of staying the same here. We can bring that up for you. The distances between the drivers, there you have it. Weishart is about 0.2 behind McDaniel, and Grant is about 0.2 behind Weishart. That's your 3 leaders. And it looks like Brad Suggs seems to be gaining a little bit from Todd Guess here. There's about a car length between there. That is not enough to be a huge disadvantage for Todd Guess. He'll still feel that draft helping him a little bit, but it looks like Brad Suggs is trying to work hard to gain, to reel in the leaders and be a part of that group. So maybe the leaders are starting to feel that those tires wear down a little bit, and Brad Suggs may have a little bit more tire left and be able to close that gap. Travis McDaniel still in the lead. David Weishart in the number 4 car. There you have him. Garrett Grant in third. And it's Brad Suggs, 0.4 of a second now. Todd Guess trying to hang with Brad. Then it's Chris Seidenfaden and the green and yellow car. That's Patrick Howard. He's a lap down, so that's not for position. Meanwhile, back there, it's Chad Martin and Scott Olsen and Nicholas Wing having a good little battle of their own. And it looks like Olsen has passed Martin. And now Martin's coming back on the inside in that 41 car. So Martin, Olsen, and Wing are having some fun here, duking it out together. And we see Weishart going into the pits on lap 26. That could be a tactical move. That could be that 34 laps is about what he expects to do on fuel, and that would bring him at the front if the others have to pit before we get to the end of the first stage. We've seen him pull a stunt like this before, and it looks like he is not alone. Chris Seidenfaden, teammate to Weishart, also, he's doing the same thing, so I expect Garrett Grant to be coming in pretty quickly as well. And it looks like Travis McDaniel, Todd Guess, and Garrett Grant are all doing that same thing. They're following that strategy. Let's see how this plays out. That means that Brad Suggs for now picks up the lead. There he is. But I'm fairly sure he's not going to make it on fuel all the way to 60. So it looks like 34, 35 laps is what they expect to be making, and that's the reason they're pitting so early. They want to have that extra point from the first stage, and it looks like David is back out. Seidenfaden is back out. Garrett Grant is rolling out of the pit right now. Travis McDaniel is rolling out of the pit as well, and it looks like Todd Guess is in between there now. So that tells me that Garrett Grant has lost a little bit of ground. Chad Martin is still the leader with Olsen and Wing, and they're fairly close together. That's the guys that were battling in the back of the pack earlier, and they have gained a lap on pretty much the others, so that'll set itself right when they go into the pits. Let's take a look here, because David Weishart is ahead of Travis McDaniel. And by quite a bit, actually. He's about 2 seconds ahead. So it looks like McDaniel, by pitting a lap later, has lost a little bit of that connection here. David Weishart did good work by pitting early. He was the first one to jump in from the leaders. So it's Weishart, McDaniel, and Seidenfaden in that order. And those are the guys that have pitted. Nicholas Wing is now going in on lap 30 here, coming off of third position. Chad Martin is hanging on to that lead. He's being passed by Todd Guess, who gets his lap back, and you can tell that's the difference between fresh tires and older tires that have 30 laps on them. Martin is hanging on for dear life here, but the guys that have pitted are clearly faster, so it would be the best thing for him to do to just go ahead and get these tires changed. It's going to have to happen before lap 60 anyway. Scott Olsen is also still out. He's currently shown in the second position. 24 laps behind Olsen, it's Weishart in third. Travis McDaniel is a little under 2 seconds behind Weishart, and then it's Seidenfaden a little bit over 2 seconds behind McDaniel, and Seidenfaden has Todd Guess right on his rear bumper, fighting for that fifth position currently. Garrett Grant, he can see them, but he's not close enough by. And then it looks like Brad Suggs is about, that's quite a ways down from Grant. Not sure why that happened. Chad Martin is still your leader, now by himself. Scott Olsen is about 1.2 seconds behind him. And Weishart, McDaniel, Seidenfaden, that's basically the ones that will be fighting for that stage win, it looks like. Weishart and McDaniel about 1.8 seconds apart, so that seems to be steady right now. Seidenfaden 2.5 seconds behind McDaniel, and it looks like he shook Todd Guess there a little bit. Not sure if Todd Guess had a little bit of a moment. And it looks like Grant is catching them. He's working really hard to reel them in. Let's check again on Chad Martin, who's hanging on to that lead. Scott Olsen in second. And then it's David Weishart in third. And it looks like McDaniel is reeling Weishart in by about 0.3 of a second right now. The guys in front of him are not on the same lap. That's Howard and Nicholas Wing in the M&M car. And McDaniel will have to find his way around there. Looks like he's using that draft from the M&M car a little bit. Gained another 1/10 of a second on Weishard. Let's check out David here in 3rd position. And it's still Chet Martin that has not gone into the pits. If the pit window is about 34, 35, he should have to be coming in pretty soon. Weishard in 3rd, and it's now Travis McDaniel, 1.2 seconds. And it looks like McDaniel is about at equal speed as Nicholas Wing. Nicholas Wing has also been in the pit, so he's on the same fresh rubber as McDaniel, and it looks like McDaniel is gaining a little bit on Weishard because he catches that draft from Nicholas Wing. And Nicholas Wing is having good speed there, and that's definitely going to help him trying to catch up with the leaders. He's currently still in 9th position. The only ones that have not pitted are this man, Chet Martin, in the 41 car, in the lead currently, and Scott Olson, also not pitted yet. And to give you an idea, they're running 32.1 respectively, 32.5 at this point for Chet Martin, and David Weishard in 3rd is a second a lap, almost 2 seconds a lap quicker than the leader at this point. So those older tires are really not working anymore. And then it looks like Travis McDaniel is reeling in David Weishard fairly good here. It's only 3/10 of a second now, and it looks like Weishard has been passed by Nicholas Wing. So Nicholas Wing in the number 12 car, being a lap down from Weishard, he's doing good business. He's running strong laps with lap times under the 31 seconds. And that is currently faster than Weishard. McDaniel now closing in on that 3rd position, the number 4 of David Weishard. That'll be a battle to watch here, because that will probably be the one that's going to be leading on lap 60 for that first stage. We're 40 laps into the race, so we're going to see how long Chad Martin and Scott Olson can hang on without getting fuel. And their lap times are definitely dropping down to the 32s, mid-32s, so they're not faster than Weishard and McDaniel is now challenging Weishard for the 3rd position on his inside. These guys are pretty evenly matched, running into 31s currently. And it looks like Nicholas Wing has got good speed. He's running still running under 31 seconds a lap, and he's walking away from these guys, despite the fact that he's a lap down. Now it's Travis McDaniel putting that car in front of Weishard, picking up that 3rd position. Weishard staying with him here, catching the draft, making sure he will not lose contact with him. Staying in close proximity, that might help him get a slingshot move at some point. Now it's McDaniel going below the white line and Weishard staying above it. And up in the front, it's still Chad Martin leading Scott Olson by about 3 seconds, and he's got about 10 seconds on McDaniel. And once again, he is running about a second slower. Well, not quite a full second. It's actually about 7/10 of a second slower than McDaniel and Weishard on the newer tires. But at lap 43, I'm fairly sure that they're not going to make it all the way to 60. Otherwise, McDaniel's and Weishard's pit stop would not have made any sense. And let's go and check on Nicholas Wing. The lap times are coming up just a little bit. He's doing a 31:05 now, but he's running very strong here, lap time wise, and he's by himself. That's kind of surprising to me. All right, let's check on Todd Guess. He is running in the 5th position, and he's running about a second and a half in front of Garrett Grant, and Chris Seidenfaden is about 2 seconds behind Grant. Then it's Brad Suggs in the 8th position, 37 seconds behind Seidenfaden. He must have had an issue because he was hanging with the leaders early on very, very nicely. Check on Chet Martin here in the 1st position, Scott Olson in 2nd, and Travis McDaniel still in front of Dave Weishart with a couple of car lengths separating them now. Both of them on the apron there. Lap 45, so we have 16 laps to go till we get to that first stage. Now we have Patrick Howard coming in for his 2nd pit stop. And he's not running too bad. He's running, his last lap was a 32.5, so he may not have the same speed as the guys up front, but he's not doing all that bad. Chet Martin still in the lead. And we'll be watching for him and Scott Olson to come on to pit road shortly. And then it's McDaniel in 3rd, David Weishart in 4th. And it might be that it's so close that Martin and Olson are just gambling. But the advantage of the early pit stop is pretty much evaporated. For not pitting, the advantage has evaporated because Travis McDaniel is now 8 seconds behind Chet Martin and still closing in. And he's about a half a second a lap quicker than the leader. So he might be reeling him in anyway. There you see the yellow and green car of Patrick Howard coming back onto the track. There he is. He's going to be lapped by Travis McDaniel and David Weishart here shortly. Garrett Grant in 6th position. He's about 1.6 seconds behind this man. That's Todd Guess. And then Seidenfaden is behind Grant by about 2.6 seconds. And once again, Brad Suggs has dropped back. He's gaining on Seidenfaden, but not by much. And then it's Nicholas Wing, and he's in 9th position. Lap times have come up quite a bit now. Chet Martin is still your leader in front of Scott Olson, and it looks like Scott Olson has been passed by Nicholas Wing as well. Olson's lap times are now 32.6. Travis McDaniel running a 32 pretty much, and then, David Weishart a 32.03. And is the 41 coming down the pit road? No, doesn't look like it. Not yet. Olson, same thing, still staying out. We are going into lap 50. 11 laps till the stage. There you see Weishart going on the apron. McDaniel was staying high. It looks like Weishart's having a little trouble staying with McDaniel. He is a little bit slower on the lap times, but not by a whole lot. So they're pretty evenly matched, it looks like. Todd Guess is still running in the 5th spot. And it looks like Grant is gaining a little bit, but not very quickly. Seidenfaden still in 7th. Brett Suggs is in 8th, and Nicholas Wing is in 9th. Patrick Howard rounds out your field in the 10th position. Chet Martin hanging on to that lead. 10 laps till the first stage is finished. Scott Olson still in 2nd. Travis McDaniel. And he's definitely gaining distance on Weishart. It looks like it's about 0.7 of a second right now. So the big question is now, will Chet Martin and Scott Olson come into the pits before the end of the stage? I am definitely thinking so. I'm not sure what the pit window is, but it's going to be extremely close if they make 60 laps at all. Martin and Olson, their tires have definitely gone off. They are running about in the mid-32s as far as lap times is concerned. And you can see on the left of your screen that McDaniel and Weishart are doing about a half a second better than that. Guess and Grant are also running into 32s. So it's pretty much evened out again already. Let's see, Scott Olson also still staying out there. And Scott Olson can definitely see McDaniel coming. McDaniel on the apron there. And behind him it's Weishart. McDaniel clearly gaining on Scott Olson here. And that is for position. Yeah, it definitely looks like that that gray car in front, the tires are just shot compared to that number 2 car. And Travis McDaniel goes underneath him here to pick up that second position. We are on lap 55. So if the number 41 and number 2 can stay out there all the way to 60, then they definitely gave up that advantage completely by losing lap time. Travis McDaniel back in second position, and he's about 4.5 seconds behind the leader, Chad Martin. So that's quite a gap, and that would be hard to overcome. So we'll have to wait and see if the 41 is coming to pit road for fuel before we reach the lap 61. But like I said, I wasn't sure about it, and as we are heading into lap 56, I'm starting to doubt myself, and maybe they can make it. That would be cool for Chad Martin, picking up that stage win and grabbing some extra points here. McDaniel still about 4 seconds behind. That would be tough to make up in just 4 laps. Now we see Weishart closing in on Olson, trying to get that third spot. Can he get underneath? He's still behind there. Despite having pitted on lap 25, those tires on the 4 car are not all that much better than the ones under Olson's car. And that could have something to do with the high temperature on the track. Weishart moving left and right to take a look. Can he get underneath in turn 1? Yes, indeed. Lap 58 for the leader. And that number 12 car behind him, that's Nicholas Wing, so that's not for position. Nicholas is in the 9th position. And there we see Chet Martin 2 laps before the stage ends. He's going to have to come in for fuel. And let's see if Scott Olson can make it. Olson is still out there. Travis McDaniel now in the lead. David Weishart now in second. Olson has dropped back to third. And he's going to be desperate for fuel, I'm sure. It kind of makes you wonder, he's going to have to come in now or he's going to run out. I'm fairly sure of that. Is he coming in? No, he's going to make it. No, he's not. He's coming in now. He's a little bit hot into the pits. I hope he doesn't get a penalty for that. And it's Travis McDaniel on lap 60 now. When he passes the line, he picks up that win of the first stage here in Chicagoland. Olson still in the pits. Let's see where Chad Martin is. He's coming back out. Dropping back a lap on the leaders probably. And it's Travis McDaniel bringing that car in first place on the lap 61. He picks up that stage win and we'll be going yellow here. And it looks like we have a car on the apron getting in a little bit of trouble. And that looked to me like that was Scott Olson. Let's bring that back really quickly. Yeah, he gets on the gas a little bit too hard coming off a pit road. And he almost loses it, but luckily he saves it. Yeah, he's not going around. He saves it, but ooh, that was close. All right, there we are under yellow. Travis McDaniel picks up the stage win on lap 60. At the end of lap 60, I should say. And then it's Weishart in second, Todd Guess back in third, Garrett Grant in fourth, Seiden Faden is in fifth, Olson is shown in 6th, but I do believe he should be he is a lap down on the leaders, I think. Well, maybe not. Yeah, he should be. Then it's Chet Martin in 7th, so Olsen got by Chet Martin on the pit stop. Then it's Brad Suggs in 8th, Nicholas Wing in 9th, and Patrick Howard in 10th. He's 2 laps down from Wing, and I'm fairly sure everybody will be coming in for fuel and rubber, and that'll reset the whole game for the next 90 laps, the second stage of this race. That'll take us to the finish. Nobody coming down yet. Yep, there they come. Everybody into pit lane. And it's only Olsen, Martin, Suggs, and Wing that are staying out there. Suggs and Wing have to wait till they get their turn on the next lap. Chet Martin and Olsen probably the same thing. And there we have them. Pit stalls fairly close together. Travis McDaniel, Weishart there. Then it's Todd Guess and Garrett and Seidenfaden and Grant all in the pits here. And also Patrick Howard came down into the pits. And let's see, it looks like Weishart's coming off pit road first. A little drag race to the cones there, and it looks like David Weishart picks up the lead from Travis McDaniel on the pit stops here. Garrett Grant beats Todd Guess out, and he's 3rd now. And now we're seeing the other guys coming back on the same lap. That's Scott Olsen in the 5th position. Seidenfaden still in the pit here. Not sure if there was an issue. That would be very unfortunate for him. There he goes. He's back out. So it'll be okay. We're under yellow, so he'll pick back up that 6th position right behind Olsen. Then it's Chet Martin in the 7th spot, and Brad Suggs is in 8th. Nicholas Wing is in 9th, and Brad Howard is in 10th. So Weishart picks up the lead coming off pit road. And it is the 41 of Chet Martin that's between the pace car and the leaders, as is the 33 of Brad Suggs, the 12 of Nicholas Wing. So they'll be waved around here before we go green to bring back David Weishart right behind the pace car. And we've got our deck shuffled for that second stage here with Weishart in front after the pit stops, Travis McDaniel in 2nd, and Garrett Grant in 3rd. Let's go and step aside real quickly for our sponsor. And there we see Nicholas Wing going into the pits, and it looks like Scott Olsen is doing the same thing. And let's see if the lights will be going out. Nope, we're going to do another pace lap here. So Brad Suggs stopped last on lap 27, so I'm a little bit surprised that he's not taking a pit stop. Because we're on lap 65 now. He's not going to last that much longer. And he might do it when he gets the wave around. I'm not sure, but that might actually be the thought behind it. So other than that, I would think he really could use to fill up that tank and use a fresh set of tires. Because he is the only one that has not stopped in this round of pit stops. So we'll have to keep an eye on Brad Suggs here in the 33 car right in front of your leader, David Weishart, and see if he comes into the pits now. If not, then I'm not sure if that would be a good decision, because he's going to have to come in fairly soon after we get the green flag. Lap 27, so I'll add about another 45 laps. So he'll be coming into the pits right around lap 70, that just as we get started. That would cost him a lot more time. Lights on the pace car are out. That means that the pit will be closed for Suggs as well. So yeah, he has no choice but to go around. And I hope he made the right decision there. The guys behind the pace car are lining them up double file. That's David Weishart in the first position, Travis McDaniel in the number 2, Garrett Grant in the 42, Todd Guess in the 1, Seiden Faden in the 15, then it's Olsen in 6th position, and in between there we saw Nicholas Wing. And then it's the 89 of Howard, and Olsen is the final car on this row, but obviously Martin and Suggs will be coming up to the back end there fairly shortly. There you see him in the background. That's Martin and Suggs coming back to the back end of the pack. And we're getting ready to go racing. It's David Weishart hitting the throttle, and it looks like he's tugging along Garrett Grant here on that bottom line into 2nd position. Travis McDaniel now in 3rd on the high side with Todd Guess right behind him, and it looks like Seiden Faden is picking up that 3rd position. And those are 3 teammates right there in front of McDaniel. So that'll be interesting to see how that is going to play out. There comes McDaniel to the bottom, trying to get underneath Seiden Faden, pick that 3rd position back up. Looks like he does so. And it looks like Grant is doing good work here, hanging with the leader. It's McDaniel on his outside. It looks like McDaniel comes off that high side really well there, getting in front of the 42 of Grant. Seiden Faden now in 4th, Todd in 5th, and it's Olsen in 6th position there. And it's actually Nicholas Wing between them. David Weishart. It looks like Travis McDaniel is running a little bit quicker. He just posted the quickest lap of the race with a 29.97, and he is definitely going for it here. Coming to the inside of David Weishart, I'm sorry. And Travis McDaniel picks that lead back up with David Weishart now in 2nd, and Grant in 3rd. McDaniel trying to break that draft, going deep underneath that wide line into turn 1. And there you have it, trio in the lead. Travis McDaniel and then the 2 teammates, Weishart and Grant. Todd Guess is in 4th, pulling away a little bit from Olsen, it looks like, and Seiden Faden has dropped back a little bit. He may have had a little issue. Not sure what happened to him, but he's dropped back quite a bit now. We can try to pick that back up and see if something happened to him. Yes, there it is. Bring it back once again. Here he still is with the lead group. He gets a little tap from the number 1 car and washes up and loses quite a bit of time there. That's unfortunate for Chris Seidenfaden. Meanwhile, back up front here, it's David Weishart picking up that lead once again from Travis McDaniel. We'll bring that back here for you. There they are, coming off turn 2 onto the backstretch, and it looks like Weishart is coming to the inside already, coming alongside, and into turn 3 and 4, he picks up that position. Back live now. Weishart still in front. Travis McDaniel now in 2nd. Garrett Grant having a little bit of trouble keeping up. Relentless pace at the front here. Todd Guess is about 1.4 seconds behind Grant in 4th. And then it's Olsen, and he's hanging with Nicholas Wing. That's not for position, and Seidenfaden seems to be dropping back a little bit. Weishart still in front, Travis McDaniel and Garrett Grant, your leaders. the 1, 2, and 3. Car number 4, number 2, and 42. Travis is hanging with Weishart really well. Lap 73, closing in on halfway here. Both going underneath on that apron. Let's ride along with Travis here for a little bit. Very close behind the number 4 car. Can he do anything? Can he close in? He's going to get underneath now. And he's coming back for that lead. Side by side. Back into the tri-oval. Ooh, almost touching there. Giving each other plenty of room to race, though. And that's what I like about this series. There's very good, respectful racing going on. They can go side by side for laps at the time, and nothing happens. And that's good. That's the way we like to see these Cup cars race. It's still Weishart shown in front, still side by side. Garrett Grant is benefiting from the big hole in the air. Those 2 cars side by side are punching, so he catches up with Weishart. All 3 of them now on the bottom line there. Travis McDaniel picks that lead back up, but this is definitely not a done story. Let's check here on Todd Guess. Looks like he's got past Nicholas Wing, and then it's Olsen. Seidenfaden seems to be catching up a little bit. Then it's Martin, and Suggs is behind Patrick Howard. Howard is a few laps down. Suggs seems to be struggling, and he still hasn't pitted yet, so I'm sure we're going to see him come in fairly quickly now. Travis McDaniel still in the lead in front of Weishart. Garrett Grant, and it looks like Weishart's close enough to make another move. There he comes down low into turn 3 and 4. Trying to pick that lead back up. This is good racing. This is good stuff. Into the tri-oval once again. Weishart now staying on the banked track. Still side by side. He did pick up that lead at the line. The number 2 on the high side. It looks like both those lines are running pretty good. Still side by side. Travis now inching ahead. Weishart coming down underneath. And it looks like he's still not clear. He goes underneath. They all go with him. They're still not clear. Weishart still in front. McDaniel, then Garrett Grant. All 3 of them working with that draft. Garrett Grant is trying to get behind his teammate to help him push a little bit. Even though they're not touching, a car closely behind another car will reduce the drag of that first car. So regardless of whether they touch, they always help each other that way. Now it's Garrett Grant coming underneath Travis McDaniel as well. Travis being caught out on that high side a little bit with the 2 teammates trying to work together there. But he is going in between the 2. We're on lap 80, so we just passed the halfway mark. And let's quickly check back on Todd Guess here. He's by himself. Then it's Scott Olsen. And it looks like Seidenfaden is trying really hard to reel Olsen back in. Not having too much luck. It does look like he gained a little bit. Let's check on Brad Suggs. He's still out there. And he's done quite a few laps. He's got to be running that tank empty. Travis McDaniel picks up the lead. Let's bring back the replay here really quickly for you. He comes underneath. And then he picks up that lead going on to the backstretch. Side by side. Let's bring them back live because I'm sure they're still fighting for it. There you have them, still side by side. Garrett Grant is the watching in 3rd position. And it looks like Garrett Grant is choosing to stay behind that 4, trying to help him. And it's kind of 2 against 1 here. But that's how this stuff works. They expected Travis to go down on the bottom and almost touch him. Travis hanging on. Weishart on the high side with Grant helping him behind him. There you have it. What the 4 and the 42 are doing is benefiting both of them. The 4 will have less drag behind the car if there's something there, and that brings both their speeds up a little bit. So that's why they're trying to do that. But on this track, it's not so easy because there's really no straight part on that backstretch. And you don't want to touch a car that's turning because that would upset him pretty quickly and turn him around fairly easily. So Travis McDaniel is hanging on to that lead by just half a car length. This is good stuff. And once again, Grant trying to get behind the 4, trying to have the 4 gain some speed. And it looks like it works, but then in the turns, Grant kind of loses out himself. And once again, watch for that 42 to get right behind the UPS car. Well, let's take a look at it right along with Garrett Grant here. He's going to tug in right behind his teammate. Well, he decides to stay on the banking. But here, once again, he'll tug in right behind that number 4 car. He'll try to anyway. There you go. He crawls up to that same higher side, trying to give the 4 a push. The backstretch is just not long enough to really make a difference. But that's what he's trying to do. And now it looks like Travis McDaniel has put that car in front of the 4. He finally cleared him, but yeah, that was a good fight here. And it's not over even. There you have Weishart coming back up to the high side. Once again, all 3 of them. And it looks like Todd Guess seems to be gaining on him a little bit. That is interesting. Ooh, wow, and it looks like Weishart's... You can't take your eyes off of him because something happens. Weishart is now underneath McDaniel. And now it's the 42 helping him on that low side there. Careful coming back up. McDaniel hanging on very strong, I think. You got to remember, he's got to do this by himself. He only has the side draft to work with, while the 4 and the 42 are drafting each other and bump drafting each other, trying to gain speed. And McDaniel doesn't have a buddy that helps him. He still has the speed, though. He still has the speed. Weishart now inching ahead on that lower side. McDaniel in second. Grant is hanging there, trying to help his buddy. And Todd Guess is definitely gaining on these guys. Where is Chris Seidenfaden? He is about 4 or 5 seconds ahead, behind of Chris. I'm sorry, Todd Guess, and then it's Olsen and Martin by himself. Brad Suggs has finally gone to the pits on lap number 90. That means he's going to run a really long fuel stint, and he has run that car pretty much dry, I would think. But it still means he's losing a lot of time on the leaders. Obviously, the leaders will have to pit before we finish this thing. But I'm not sure Brad Suggs made the right call there. When we had the yellow, he should have gone in. Pitting under yellow will always be better than pitting under green. Weishart in front now. McDaniel hanging with him. Now they're dealing with back markers. That's Patrick Howard that they're coming up to in the 89 John Deere car. Oh, and there it looks like McDaniel catches that draft, and then Weishart is trying to prevent him from coming back down. Garrett Grant hanging with him. A couple of car lengths in between there now. And Weishart having to defend from McDaniel. McDaniel on the lower side picks up the lead. And once again, still side by side. Seidenfaden has gone to the pit. Is he calculating to make it to the end? That would be a long shot. Well, it could be done, probably. Travis McDaniel and David Weishart still fighting for that lead. Garrett Grant catching back up. Formation flying. Travis still has it. Weishart on his outside. And now Weishart inches ahead again. It's back and forth, back and forth. And both that low line and that second line seem to work really well tonight. Ooh, and it looks like Brad Suggs on those fresh tires is meaning to catch up with these guys and getting one of his laps back. There you go, Suggs on the high side on new tires. And that's not for position, but he's catching up his lap. And quickly at that, too. Look at the distance. That's the difference between having 40 or 50 laps on your tires and having new tires. So having pitted on, what was it, lap 62, we're not too far away from pit stops anymore, and that should be their last pit stop that would take them to the end. It looks like Chad Martin has also been in the pits. Yep, lap 92. He's coming back out. So Seidenfaden, Martin, and Suggs have pitted. Travis McDaniel is hanging on to that lead. Lap 96. Pitting now would definitely take them to the end. Weishart and Grant are working together once again there. And let's check back here on Todd Guess. And it looks like Chad Martin on fresh tires is also a lot quicker than the guys that have been out here for 45 laps already, almost 50. I'm sorry, almost 50. Yeah, so those fresher tires, that makes quite the difference. As you can see, it looks like Chad Martin is now hanging with the leaders, and I'm fairly sure he's going to do his best to get by those guys, pick up a lap of what he lost. But he wants to be careful, obviously, not to interfere and upset that stuff in a negative way. He's definitely quicker. He's going to the outside of Grant now. He's thinking the better of it. And it looks like Travis McDaniel is being helped by that a little bit. He pulls away from Grant and Weishart. Grant now in front of Weishart. And Chet Martin is having a little trouble getting by these guys, but he does have the speed in that car on the fresh rubber. And it's broken up that fight for the lead a little bit. Weishart's fighting Chet Martin now. Not sure if that's necessary, but I guess he wants to keep that guy behind him. Oh, and there we go. We have Grant going into the pits. Garrett Grant diving into the pits there at the last minute. Weishart picking up that second spot now. And it's Chet Martin in between him and Todd Guess. Todd Guess is the third position car. Chet Martin is a lap down, trying really hard to get that lap back. Is Weishart coming down to pit road? Yes, indeed, it looks like it. No. Yes, he is. Yes, and it's same for Travis McDaniel. Let's keep an eye on these pit stops here. McDaniel now in the pit. Weishart in the pit. Garrett Grant is already on his way out. There he goes. It's Todd Guess that's coming with him in third position. So the top four drivers now on their pit stops. And Chris Seidenfaden has already pitted on lap 91. So the only one that's not going to make it is Nicholas Wing with the last pit stop on lap 63. So we'll see him shortly. I'm fairly sure of that. Travis McDaniel taking tires on both sides. This time it's McDaniel that beats out Weishart, and they're pretty much evened out coming out of the pits. But it looks like Travis has a little bit of a gap between Weishart and himself there. Seidenfaden is currently shown as your leader, but I'm fairly sure he'll be coming in pretty quickly. And it looks like Garrett Grant is in front of Travis McDaniel. So pitting a lap earlier helped him there. But McDaniel is still busy getting up to speed, it looks like. And then it's Weishart behind McDaniel, currently in fourth. Todd Guess. And how far is he behind? About 2 seconds. Nicholas Wing is in sixth now, and it's Olsen in seventh, Suggs in eighth, and Chad Martin is in ninth. Patrick Howard is hanging on, and he's still going in the 10th position. Seidenfaden on the bottom there, enjoying at least the credit of leading something. And actually, I was expecting Chris to pit, but I was mistaken here. Chris Seidenfaden has pitted on lap 91. He was actually the first one going in, so it is actually Chris Seidenfaden leading this race, and he's doing so by about 4.5 seconds on Garrett Grant, and then it's Travis McDaniel and Weishart right behind Grant, so Seidenfaden should be good to the end. And now it's going to be a matter of who can conserve the tires the best. Because Seidenfaden is definitely not quicker than the guys behind him. He already has a little bit more, he's got some more laps on those tires, but now it's going to be a matter of who can preserve those tires the best until we get to lap 150. And Chris Seidenfaden is definitely going to be a factor in this race, and he could use it because a win would definitely improve his situation as far as the playoffs are concerned. So Seidenfaden hanging on to that lead. It's shrinking fairly rapidly. He is about a second slower than David Weishart and Travis McDaniel, and they are still going at it, and it looks like Weishart's caught up with McDaniel and taken that position from him, and now it's McDaniel back on the bottom, returning the favor. Garrett Grant has dropped behind these guys. I'm not sure if he had a little wiggle there. And they're gaining very, very rapidly on Seidenfaden. Only Howard is in between there now. You can see the green and yellow car of Howard in between. And in front it's Seidenfaden. Then there you have McDaniel, Weishart, and Grant. So the white car, that's Seidenfaden, still in the lead, but you can see visually how quickly these guys are gaining. Look at them, there they are. Howard's already gone out of the way, that's good. Howard's good about those things. And Weishart and McDaniel, oh, they're gonna eat him up. There you go, both underneath that one. Seidenfaden just has no defense, but can he tug in behind him and try to stay with him now? It looks like those tires are just too far gone already. He may have worked him a little bit too hard right after that pit stop. Seidenfaden dropping back. There you have him. It's Weishart in front. We're back at the original playbook with Weishart, Travis McDaniel, and Garrett Grant in front. McDaniel coming underneath him again. These guys are just not giving up. I mean, this is basically a start-to-finish battle for position between Travis McDaniel and David Weishart. And the only break they're giving themselves is when they make a pit stop. There we have Nicholas Wing being lapped by these guys shortly here. Looks like Wing is already showing them, all right, guys, I'm good at the top here. Go underneath. There they go. Weishart inching ahead of McDaniel once again. And it looks like Garrett Grant is having a little bit more trouble to keep up with him now. We're on lap 110. Oh. Look at that. McDaniel almost loses it. We're going to play that back for you here. They're coming off the backstretch. They're side by side. And I don't believe there was any touching going on or any rough driving. It's just it looks like McDaniel doesn't have a whole lot. There may have been a touch. There may have been a little bit of a touch. It's hard to tell. It could have been net code as well. Back live now. It looks like Garrett Grant has picked up that second position because of McDaniel getting almost in trouble there. But McDaniel is not done. He's getting right back at it. Right behind the 42 of Garrett Grant. Underneath now, he's going to pick up that second position once again and go after David. And obviously, Weishart, if he would win this thing, he would lock himself into the final race in Texas as well. McDaniel is already locked in. Weishart would probably make it on points anyway, but being locked in is always a good thing. We have Brad Suggs in the pits. Not sure if that's a scheduled stop. It looks like it. Bring her back up front here. David Weishart has got a little bit of a distance. About a half a second on Travis McDaniel. And it looks like Travis McDaniel does get the better of Garrett Grant here with a couple of car lengths between them. Nicholas Wing is hanging with these guys fairly nicely here. He pitted on lap 105, so his tires are a little bit fresher than Garrett Grant's, and he's hanging with Grant here fairly good. Weishart and McDaniel. Let's check in on Todd Guess. He's kind of lonely there in fourth position. He's got 12 seconds on Scott Olson, and it looks like Seidenfaden has come to the pit. And is that a regular stop? It does look like regular service. He should have been able to make it, because he pitted last on lap, 91, so he's only got like a little over 20 laps on those tires. He should have been able to make it. David Weishart still in the lead. Travis McDaniel. And who popped up between there? That is Chad Martin. So Chad Martin getting another lap down, and Nicholas Wing is hanging with the leaders. Nicholas Wing has passed Garrett Grant. That is not for position, but Nicholas Wing is running strong, despite the fact that he's a lap down. His speed is there, and now he's coming right behind Travis McDaniel and David Weishart. Once again, he's just trying to get his lap back. It's not for position, but it would be a good thing for him if he did. Leaders are still side by side there. Garrett Grant's having a little bit more trouble staying with these guys. Chad Martin letting him by now. McDaniel in front. But like I said, these guys are not giving each other any kind of break. It's been a battle for the lead from start to lap 118, and it looks like it's going to be a battle for the lead till we finish. McDaniel inches ahead now. The number 12 car right behind Weishart. Nicholas Wing. He's got good speed. Weishart behind McDaniel. Let's ride along. On the backstretch, heading towards 3 and 4. Looking very smooth. McDaniel going down underneath there. You can hear the tire scrub in that car. Travis McDaniel hanging on to the lead. And when we look to the rear of Weishart, that's the M&M car of Nicholas Wing. And Brett Suggs is hanging there in there too. He's on fresh tires. He wants to get by. And once again, that's not for position, but Suggs is trying to make up for lost time. He's on brand new tires. He pitted last on, what was it, lap 111, so he's only got 10 laps on those tires. And he's coming for the 2 leaders here to get his lap back. He's nosing ahead of the 4 car now. And that might help Travis McDaniel a little bit to get some distance between him and Weishart. Is this what's breaking up the fight? Right now, it kind of looks like it. Suggs going underneath McDaniel here. The M&M car now in between Travis McDaniel and David Weishart. We are on lap 122. Weishart having a little bit more trouble keeping up now. Ooh, it looked even like he scuffed the wall there. Yeah, Suggs is doing good business here. He's fast. And the 12th car now going underneath McDaniel. McDaniel getting back at him. That's not for position, folks. That Travis McDaniel is your leader, and Nicholas Wing is just fighting to get his lap back. He's a lap down currently. McDaniel going back underneath. And the fact that he has to fight Nicholas for that track position does help Weishart a little bit, it seems. There you go. Weishart tugs in right behind the number 12 car. Now, if he can just get underneath there, he can get back at it trying to get Travis McDaniel. Let's quickly check here on Todd Gass. Todd Gass has Chris Seidenfaden behind him. That is not for position. Seidenfaden is a lap down. Seidenfaden pitted on lap 113. Olsen has pitted last on lap 97. He's in 5th position, and behind him you see Patrick Howard. Patrick is running in the 10th position. And then it's Brad Suggs. He's past the leaders, and he's trying to get his lap back. He's in 8th. And then you come back out at Travis McDaniel. And Weishart has finally passed that number 12 car, and he's trying to gain back what he lost on McDaniel. Lap 126. There you're looking from Travis's car. That's the number 4 of David Weishart that you're looking at. Weishart washing up a little bit more. And it doesn't look like Weishart seems to be able to inch towards the Travis McDaniel number 2 car. It's about a half a second, and that's what it's been for a bit, I believe. And let's find out where Garrett is. Garrett is about 1.7 seconds behind Weishart. And that means that he's kind of lost that connection there. And he's got about 3 seconds on Todd Guess. And Todd has about 15 seconds on Scott Olsen. And it looks like at this point, McDaniel is growing his advantage on Weishart. Not fast, but it is growing. He seems to be picking up some gain here in the turns, and then on the straights it looks like Weishart is running a little bit better. Especially on turn 1 and 2, it looks to me like in 1 and 2 Travis is a little bit stronger. Weishart's now picking back up a little bit. Let's ride along with Weishart here for a moment. That is Travis McDaniel's car you're looking at. It's all still looking pretty smooth and strong. Distance stays about the same. Weishart, oh, look at the car. That white is not white anymore. McDaniel, it's about 0.3 of a second now, so it looks like David is picking up a little bit. Every lap, just a little bit. Let's check on Garrett Grant. About 2.8 seconds behind Weishart. Then it's Todd Guess. He's in the 4th spot. It's Seidenfaden who is in 6th, so he is a lap down from Todd Guess. He needs to pass Todd Guess twice to get in front of him in the scoring. Then it's Chet Martin in 7th. Brad Suggs, oh, that's Patrick Howard coming out of the pits on lap 133. And it looks like the 12 has finally come to the pits on lap 133 as well. And there you're back at your leaders. Travis McDaniel. David Weishart. It's now 0.2 of a second. David Weishart is gaining. It's not going quickly, but he is gaining, and it doesn't matter how quickly it happens as long as it happens if you're David Weishart. If you're Travis McDaniel, then you're kind of looking in your mirror. What can I do? I've got that pedal to the metal. I have nothing left. So why is Weishart so much quicker? It's not that much, though, and it's the draft is helping. They got broke up a little bit by those back markers, the Nicholas Wing and Chad Martin, and I will say it took David a little bit to get back there, but he's getting there. Now he's getting close enough to take advantage of the draft. And his buddy Garrett Grant is not there to help him this time. Lap 136 when we're coming past the line. That means we have 15 laps to go. We're going to take this fight to the finish, I'm fairly sure of that. Let's check back on Garrett here. 3.5 seconds now. Todd Guess is still in 4th. And that is Seidenfaden behind him, but he needs to pass him twice. And let's see there. We have Seidenfaden. That is Martin in 7th. Nicholas Howard is still running in 10th. And there we have Scott Olson. He's in 5th. And then we have Brad Suggs in the 8th position. And David Weishart now right on that bumper of Travis McDaniel. Getting into the closing stages of this race. Once again, we see some beautiful racing between these guys. Fields may be small, but what they're doing is good. The only yellow we had was for the end of stage 1 at lap 61. These guys are racing very, very clean. What does David Weishart have in store? He crawled back towards McDaniel, reeled him in little by little. Does he have anything left to take over that final, that first position? He's looking. It's right along with him really quickly. Oop, that's the wrong car. That's David Weishart we're riding with right now. We're looking at the rear end of Travis McDaniel. You see those hands working a little bit more than we saw earlier. We're on the last little bit of those tires. 10 laps to go. Travis McDaniel hanging on to that lead with David Weishart in the second position. Let's check back further here. That's Garrett Grant in third. About 3.6 seconds. That distance seems to be staying the same pretty much. And then we see Todd Guess in the fourth position. Then we see Chris Seidenfaden. He's in sixth, so that is not for position. Then we see Patrick Howard. Then it's Chad Martin in the 7th spot. The 12 looks like he is done. And then we see Olsen in 5th. And Suggs is in 8th. At the top of the board here, Travis McDaniel still hanging on to that lead, but it's not for lack of trying from David Weishart. Wants to flip that situation around, obviously. Travis McDaniel won last week in Michigan, already locked into the final, and obviously David Weishart wants that too. What does David Weishart have? What trick can he pull out of his helmet? He's in that draft. He's looking a little bit, but he's not close enough to be anything to be doing anything meaningful here. Is he just waiting for that last little slingshot on the final lap? And what can Travis do to prevent that situation from taking the win away from him? Leaders, obviously, in a situation like this is a little bit of sitting duck. It's easier to be the chaser than it is to be chased. The guy in front has to watch both ahead and in the mirrors constantly ahead to make sure he's not making any mistakes and doing everything he needs to be doing, and in the mirrors to make sure he doesn't get surprised. And it's David Weishart picking up that lead right now. Is there an issue with Travis? Because that seemed like Travis had to get off the gas there. Did he run his tires off? Lap 146. Weishart in front. A couple of car lengths between them now. What does Travis still have? Can he crawl back towards that car? David Weishart seems to be in control here. Going into lap 147, 4 laps to go. What can Travis McDaniel still do? I can imagine that being a little bit frustrating, running so strong in the lead And then, ooh, did Four have a moment there? What happened there? David Weishart seemed to be slowing down a little bit. It brings Travis right alongside. Side by side, going in the lap 148. 3 laps to go. The fight for the lead continues. It's Travis on the outside. It's Weishart on the inside. Travis now nosing ahead, and then coming into the turn. Ooh, did they touch there? Now it's McDaniel getting ahead again. Was that the kiss of death? Travis has got a couple of car lengths now on David Weishart. Lap 149. They're going to get the white flag this time by. On the backstretch. Ooh, Weishart once again coming low. Is he running out of fuel? What's going on? Did he just eat those tires up? We'll have to ask him. Travis McDaniel gets the white flag. 1 more lap to go. He seems to be good and well ahead of David Weishart now. Garrett Grant still in 3rd. Todd Guess still in 4th. He's fighting with Seidenfaden, but not for position. Travis McDaniel coming towards the checkered flag here. It looks like that final moment that Weishart had was the deciding factor in this race. Travis McDaniel wins here in Chicago, his 2nd win in a row. David Weishart picks up that 2nd position. It's Garrett Grant bringing it home in 3rd. Then we see Patrick Howard come in 9th. Let's bring her back up to Todd Guess. He brings it home in 4th. It's Scott Olson coming home in the 5th position. Seidenfaden has finished in 6th. Martin is 7th. Brad Suggs is 8th. Patrick Howard brings it home in the 9th position, and Nicholas Wing, unfortunately, has not finished the race. At least not rolling. There's your leader, your winner, Travis McDaniel. Good job for him. Let's see that guy burn some rubber here. And Martin is having a front row seat here. Oh, I know what they're doing. He's going to be the block there, and Travis McDaniel makes sure that there's no black stuff on those tires left. That's good stuff. I'm sure he's pretty happy. Oh, and he blew the engine in the process. All right, let's bring up your official results, and let's see if we can find some of the guys to talk to here. Oh, let me see. What am I doing wrong here? There we go. Race results for you. There they are. Let's go see if we can find some of these guys. There we have Travis. Hey, Travis, this is Mark in the booth. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Travis, that was pretty much a fight for the lead from start to finish, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, that was pretty nuts, wasn't it? That was pretty intense. A lot of fun. I'm just glad we didn't wreck. I thought he got me one time, but that man, well, I think we did 65 laps side by side there. That was fun.
Yeah, pretty much, man. I mean, it was awesome to watch. Every time I looked somewhere else, I came back to you guys, and the situation had changed, so it was hard to keep up. It looked like for a moment there, pretty much, I think, right around lap 100 or something like that, there was a couple of back markers that broke you guys up. Is that what happened, or?
Yeah, sometimes you catch them at the wrong time in order to make the pass or continue to stay side by side like that. But I was trying to keep him on the outside as much as possible. I wanted to get the inside. You wear your tires out more on the outside. So I felt like any chance I could keep him down there or up on top, I felt like we could make him run them tires out and probably have an advantage towards the later end of that run.
Well, even that was going back and forth a little bit because you were on that high side a lot as well, and it didn't seem to bother you speed wise though.
Yeah, early in the run you can do it. You can do it for about the first 10 or 15 laps, and then if you continue to do it after that, you're just killing yourself. So, if they were trying to get to the bottom early on, I was just going to fight them on the top. I wasn't just going to let them go and then follow them. So, uh, I know if you put pressure on these guys, they're going to push their stuff harder than they need to. So, that worked out for us. He got in the wall there. I really thought he had us. I tried to block him. By league rulebook, you can only block with 5 to go, and we had 6 to go going into 3 there, so I couldn't block him. And luckily, he got up in that wall. But if he didn't do that, we might have been side by side, or might have had to throw a chrome horn to him coming into 3 there on the last lap.
So I wasn't sure if he actually hit the wall, but you think that he did then, right?
Yeah, he tried to take it down, and he still had quite a bit of speed going into 3 there, and I wasn't able to clear him until we got on the backstretch next time. But yeah, he tried to take it down the best he could.
Well, at least he saved it from going around or getting on the grass or whatever. So that looked pretty cool. Um, the pit stops for the in the first stage there, the timing was a little bit. It seemed like Weishart went into the pits a lap earlier than you, and for some reason that seemed to help him quite a bit. What do you think the
Yeah,
difference was?
well, he went in way early. Generally, he tried to split it in half, which would have been 30. And I knew that they were going to try to short pit with me being in front. I just didn't realize it was going to be at lap 25. I mean, that's really early to short pit like that. So luckily, I had some lap traffic that was on somewhat fresh tires. I could draft off of them and catch up back to him. But I know he had it to the floor because I had it to the floor once we come out of the pits, and I wasn't gaining anything on him. So luckily, I got that lap car there in wing and was able to draft up there back to him.
Right. Yeah, I remember that. Well, once again, yeah, it was it was. I'm sure you're sweating quite a bit there because it must have been pretty intense.
Yeah, that was. I just didn't want to wreck him, and I didn't want him to wreck me. I was glad we was able to pull that off clean. And the 3 of us been doing that all season with some minor mistakes, but for the most part, we race each other clean. But it's always better to come out of here doing donuts.
Absolutely. So one thing I wanted to ask you, there was a good part of that battle where he had Garrett Grant there right behind him to help him. How tough is it for you to be there on your own without a buddy to help you, and then those two guys pretty much bump drafting? I'm not sure if they're touching, but at least they'll have an advantage from it over you by yourself.
Yeah, and they've been doing that all season. It's just the way it works out, but it's just unfortunate when they got help like that. And the way the draft works, you can really push your partner on along, and if you can get him ahead going in the corner, he might be able to push it down there and squeeze the bottom line. And that's just the way it works out. It's perfectly legal. It's really tough to be the lone guy out there trying to hang out on their own.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I mean, for you, it's like it's a battle of two against one, really.
Yeah, seems like it's like that every week, but it's the way it works out. I keep yelling at my teammates to get on up there, but I ain't seen them in my mirror yet.
Well, they're battling their own battles there back there. All right, Travis. Once again, man, congratulations. That's 2 in a row for you. I'm sure you're excited about that. You were already locked into the final, so at least you're keeping somebody out. From the grid, it looked like the guys that are still in the red in the playoff standings. They looked like they would be strong today. Unfortunately, that didn't work out that way. But congratulations once again. Is there anybody, any thank yous and love yous you want to throw out there?
Yeah, appreciate you broadcasting. I think I got a few people watching, so we got us another one. I think it's the first time we went back to back in this series, so that's nice. We got a Phoenix next week. Dave's tough at Phoenix. Hopefully, Chad can get his way in that Final Four. We can go to Texas and put on a show.
Sounds good, man. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
David, this is Mark in the booth. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Well, it looks like you guys had a pretty much a battle for the lead from start to finish there, with a few laps in between there, maybe. But that was pretty intense, probably for you as well.
Oh yeah, that was a fun battle all race. I mean, it felt like me and Travis were side by side the entire race, and for the most part, I mean, really, really clean. I mean, there was a few times we got into each other. I pinched him hard one time, and we made a little bit of contact. And I think it was one time he clipped the apron and come up into me, but no harm, no foul, just hard racing. And then there at the end, I was just he got out from me a little bit there with about 25 to go, and I would just kind of sit back there, cool my tires off to make another run. And I got around him, and I thought I was gonna win the race. I just think with the aero tight you get on these old tires, I didn't think he was gonna get back around me, and then I knocked the wall down off two, and that was all she wrote. So, but it was a fun battle all race. Looking good, I think, going into the last race before the championship race. So, all in all, not too bad a race.
Yeah, I mean, not too bad a race, dude. It was an awesome race. It looked like you had quite a bit of help from Garrett for a while there. At the end, he dropped back a little bit, but for a long time he was right there behind you, helping to bump draft you, get you up to speed, and it was pretty much two against one there. Did it give you a good advantage over Travis?
I don't really know if it gave me an advantage over him. It helped me maintain with him on these old tires, especially on the outside lane. I had to bind the car up so hard on the exit of the corner to stay out of the wall. It would just kill my momentum. So he would actually on the bottom get a better run than me off the corner, and Garrett pushing me down the straightaways kind of helped me maintain where I was at, and then I could do that for 5, 6 laps maybe, and then it started getting really tight on the entry of three, and he'd get around me and clear me, and uh, I'd cool my tires back down and make another run at him, and it was just kind of that cycle. So, like I said, I don't think it really gave me an advantage, but it definitely helped me maintain up there.
Cool. And another thing I wanted to ask you, if there was like, I think it was like right around between lap 100 and 110, you fell back just a little. Was I think part of that was the fact that the number 12 of Nicholas Wing and I believe Chet Martin were getting in between you guys there. They were on fresher tires and trying to get their laps back, and that kind of pushed you guys apart, didn't it?
Yeah, I wasn't too thrilled about all that. I know they had fresher tires, but I mean, I just feel like they should have um, a little more awareness for who they're racing around. I mean, we're up, 30 laps to go, battling for the lead and for the win, pretty much, and they're in the middle of it. But that's racing, though. I mean, you gotta deal with those things when they happen, and I mean, it all worked out. I mean, everybody was clean about it. It was just, in the heat of the moment, I was just like, "Come on, man, get out of the way." But like they're on the track too. They got every right to race, but it was definitely frustrating in the moment.
I'm sure it was. Yeah, I can see that. So yeah, and the difference was that Brad Suggs did the same thing when he just got out of the pits, but he was just so much faster than you guys that he just didn't interfere with the battle. But it looked like the Wing and Martin weren't that much faster than you guys.
Yeah, yeah. When Brett caught us, he motored right on past us, um, no problem. But it was them guys that were they were probably a little bit faster than us, but not really enough to get around us. And I just wish they'd have given given the racetrack a little bit and either passed us or stayed behind us. But I mean, all in all, I mean, it didn't affect the outcome any. I mean, I was still in a position there at the end to win, and my mistake cost me the win. So kudos to Travis for winning and having a hell of a battle all race, and went caution free. So I mean, that's pretty rare. So I appreciate that.
Awesome, man. All right. Thanks very much, David. Is there anybody do you want to throw some thank yous and love yous to before we go?
I just want to thank my teammates at Samson, Garrett and Chris. I want to thank Travis for putting this deal on. for letting us come out here and have some fun on a Monday night. Thanks to y'all for broadcasting and everybody watching.
All right, thanks very much, David. We'll see you next week.
All right, man, take it easy.
Garrett, this is Mark in the booth. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, sir, I got you.
It looked like you may not have the finish maybe you'd hoped for, but you were probably involved in that battle for the lead as some sort of a sidekick to David. Quite long, weren't you?
Yeah, I was. I was trying to help him get past Travis there the best I could. I know he was struggling to get around him there, so I wanted to help my teammate get around him there. But yeah, I was up there battling with him. It was fun. I was hoping maybe we could both get around him and kind of check out there. But up there battling with him was fun, that's for sure.
You actually were in second for a little bit there. I forgot around which lap that was, but I think it was somewhere around 90 or something that you did get ahead of David.
Yeah, I did. I wish I could have been up there with him. That little contact between me and Travis just crumpled the fender and popped the hood up, and it screwed up the arrow on it, and I was done after that. I couldn't keep up with him.
Yeah, on tracks like these, you can't have any metal damage that'll disturb that air way too much. I'm sure.
Yeah, it was like it threw out a parachute on me. I couldn't go anywhere or do anything. I already used my quick repair because I decided to pit one lap later than David, and I didn't anticipate David slowing that down that much on that first pitch stop on the first stage there, and I had to slam the brakes, and I slid up and caught the wall, so I had to use the quick repair on the stage brake. So I was pretty much out of luck there.
Yeah, I didn't even notice that, man. Yeah, I knew he went into the pits quite late, but I didn't. I figured you guys were communicating like you did in Talladega.
Yeah, we were, but I made the last second decision to go one more time around. It was just it was my fault. He told me he was pitting, but I just decided a little too late that was gonna go around. He slowed down way more. Like I said, he slowed down way more than I thought he was, and I had to hit the brakes, and I slid up in the wall.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Well, anyway, Garrett, you brought it home in the third position once again. Good result for you. You looked really strong out there helping your teammate, and it was a lot of fun to watch. I was just talking to the other two guys. It was pretty much a battle for the win all race long. So every time I looked at other drivers further back, I come back to the lead and something had changed.
Yeah, they're swapping positions up there. It was fun to just sit back there and watch them go back and forth there. It was definitely fun to watch there. Seems like I keep catching the short end of the stick there, though. I'd like to come out with a win out of one of these things. I think every race you broadcast finished third, so hopefully I can better that soon.
Yeah, I hope you're not trying to blame me for that, though.
No.
No, but indeed, most of what I've seen is you guys work really well together as a team, but obviously that means that something's got to give, and what I've seen so far, it's usually that it's David picking up the best end of that stick, and then when a little something happens like you just described, then yeah, you get caught out a little bit, and you got to settle for third. It didn't seem like Todd Guess was catching you at all, though. I mean, you were still running fast enough to be up there on the podium.
Yeah, he wasn't. I was maintaining with him, or maybe just gaining like a tenth or two every couple laps on him. I think I was slowly pulling away from him, so I wasn't worried about him catching me. I was just trying to run smooth and clean laps and try to stay as close to David and Travis as I could, because I thought maybe they'd get out there racing each other in the last couple laps, and maybe they'd just so happen to wreck each other or something. I'd be close enough to capitalize on it.
Exactly. All right, man. Once again, congratulations. Another podium finish for you. A strong race again. What can you do? It is what it is. Any thank yous and love yous you want to throw out there?
Yeah, thank you for broadcast, and thanks to Travis putting on such an awesome league, and congrats for him winning, and shout out to my teammates David and Chris for a good race.
All right, thank you very much, Garrett.
Thank you, sir.
All right, folks, you heard from all three of the podium finishers there, Travis McDaniel, David Weishart. It was an intense race for the both of them. That pretty much was a race for the win for 150 laps with a few laps, maybe a little bit of a break when Nicholas Wing and Chad Martin broke them up for a little bit, and then Weishart worked his way back up there. And then ultimately, it was David that made a slight mistake and brushed the wall on the exit of turn two, and that pretty much decided the race there. Both of them running very, very strong. Once again, it was pretty much the same thing as last week. An exciting race, good, clean battle for the lead. We had no yellows except for the planned yellow at the end of the first stage. So that proves that despite the fact that it's a small group, it is a good group of drivers that race each other clean and fair. And of course, there's always a little bit of something going on. It's like David said, it's hard racing. You're going to have a little bit of touching here and there, but all in all, both of them, all of them are seem to be very happy with the way this race was run. And I guess ultimately, the one who makes the least mistakes is the one that takes home the biggest trophy. And this time, like last week, that was Travis McDaniel, 2 in a row. That's unusual in this series. There's usually different winners all the time, except for in the playoffs. The first round was David Weishart's party. The second round so far is Travis McDaniel's party, bringing it home in first place once again here in Chicago. That is it for now. We are going to be back with you in Phoenix, Arizona for the third race in the second round of playoffs. That will decide who all is going to the final in the playoffs bracket, and the final will be run 2 weeks from now at the Texas Motor Speedway. So we hope to see you for both those races, same time, different place, obviously. And we hope to see some more exciting racing there as well. My name is Mark. This is Short Shift Broadcasting. We thank you so much for tuning in. Check out our channel for some other exciting races, and come back and see us with the Rivalry Racing Cup next weekend in Phoenix. Thanks very much.